Tuesday, July 18. Now resurrected, ascended, and exalted with Christ. But God, who is rich in mercy, because of his great love with which he loved us, Ephesians 2 verse 4. Here, with two powerful words, but God, Paul pivots from his doleful portrait of the past lives of his audience in chapter 2 verses 1 to 3 to the new, hope-filled realities that mark their lives as believers in verses 4 to 10. In what sense do believers participate in Christ's resurrection, ascension, and exaltation? And when does this participation occur? Ephesians 2, verses 6 and 7. And raised us up together, and made us to sit together in the heavenly places in Christ Jesus, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us in Christ Jesus. We have noted that Ephesians is a Christ-drenched letter, highlighting the solidarity of the believers with Christ. In Ephesians 2, 5 and 6, Paul extends this theme by deploying three compound verbs to unleash the stunning truth that, through God's initiative, believers themselves participate in important salvation history events that centre on the Messiah, Jesus. Let's read those two verses again, Ephesians 2, verses 5 and 6. Even when we were dead in trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved, and raised us up together, and made us to sit together in the heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Believers are 1. Co-resurrected with Christ, 2. Co-raised up with Christ, which Paul probably uses to indicate the participation of believers in Christ's ascension to heaven, and 3. Co-seated with Christ in heavenly places, meaning that believers participate in Christ's seating on the throne of the cosmos. They are so exalted with Jesus. To appreciate the power of Paul's argument, we must look back to Ephesians 1, 19 to 23, and recall that in his death, resurrection, ascension, and exaltation, Christ gains the victory over all evil and spiritual powers, the very ones who once dominated the lives of the believers. Let's read Ephesians 1, 19 to 23. And what is the exceeding greatness of his power toward us who believe, according to the working of his mighty power, which he worked in Christ when he raised him from the dead, and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly places, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this age, but also in that which is to come. And he put all things under his feet, and gave him to be head over all things to the church, which is his body, the fullness of him who fills all in all. In the resurrection, ascension, and exaltation of Jesus, these powers, though still active and threatening to human existence, have been thoroughly superseded. The cosmos has shifted. Reality has changed. Believers are not mere spectators to these events, but are personally and intimately involved in them. That we are co-resurrected, co-ascended, and co-exalted with Jesus opens up a whole new array of possibilities for us. We have the right to turn from a demon-dominated existence to a life of spiritual abundance and power in Christ, as we read in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And so to finish today, we'll reread 2 Timothy 1:7, For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. How do the verses we looked at today help us understand what Paul writes here? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.